Well, howdy, friends. It's your old pal, the Slickrock Stranger. You know, usually you can find me down in southern Utah, roaming around all them beautiful public lands down there on my horse, checking out the canyons and rivers and hanging out with my brothers, even stranger and way stranger. But they're not here with me today. Today, I'm just here to sing you a song I wrote. You see, back in January of 2016, I went up to Salt Lake City. And there I was in the saloon talking with my pals. And we got to talking about all that stupidity going on up there in Oregon at that Malheur Wildlife Refuge. My God, wasn't that about the stupidest dang thing you ever seen in your life? I mean, talk about putting the dumb in freedom. My God. Well, America's got the Patriot Act, and Oregon got the Patriot Actors. And that's just what they was, too. They wasn't real cowboys. I know cowboys, and cowboys don't act like that. Them clowns, they went up there with guns to take over an unmanned and unlocked wildlife refuge. Oh my, what an act of courage that was, huh? And to make it even stupider, well, they said they was going up there to stand up for the rights of two old boys up there. Well, when they got up there, them two old boys told them they didn't want anything to do with them, told them to leave. Well, you think they'd listen? Heck, no. Stayed up there another 40 days or so, causing all sorts of ruckus. I mean, they got up there on a government backhoe and dug up some Indian artifacts. And then they went to artifacts that were in the office. They drove around on government trucks, stole government cameras. And then they got up on the government computers and looked up employees' records, caused all sorts of trouble. Now, you know, you really don't need to look far to see any clown can grab a cowboy hat and an American flag. Doesn't make him any more right, doesn't make him any smarter, and as sure as shooting don't place them above the law to where they get to decide what laws they need to obey. So, me and my pals at the saloon, we decided we was going to show these clowns they hadn't cornered the market on absurdity. So, we went over to a park in the Sugar House area of Salt Lake City. Oddly enough, it's called Sugar House Park. And we decided we was going to occupy the duck pond. And we did. And don't you worry about a thing. We did bring our weapons. We brought our water pistols in case them ducks got out of hand. And you know, we was there. It was the right time and the right place. Because it was the weekend of the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. holiday. And there's a fella that did stand up for people's rights. In that Sugar House Park, well, actually, back in the early 1900s, that was the site of the Utah State Territorial Prison. And on that site in 1915, they put to death a labor organizer by the name of Joe Hill. Maybe you heard him sung about in folk songs and stuff. There's another fellow that stood up for people's rights. Well, we had a good old time over there. In fact, this is what it looked... Oh, hey, let me fix that for you. This is what it looked like right here. That's our headquarters. We had our Don't Tread on Me flags and all sorts of good times were had there. But you know, fella that gets up on the computer all the time is telling me if you want to get up and see that, you can go up to a website called fox13now.com and you can see what we did up there. Or just do a search for Slickrock Stranger. You'll probably find it up there too. But anyway, we went back to the saloon. And that fella that gets up on the computers all the time, he says you ought to get up there and see. They got some tube things or something up there where these guys from Oregon are up there talking and about all sorts of stuff. Well, we got up there and sure enough, there's old Ammon Bundy spouting his nonsense about the federal government, how much he don't like them. Well, kind of funny because he didn't mind the federal government when they lent him over $500,000 for his truck fixing business in Phoenix. Yeah, then they were okay. But then that other fella's up there, LaVoy Finicum. He's up there talking about a cowboy stand for freedom. Well, you know, he was a dedicated man, that's for dang sure, but he had some odd ideas about the Constitution and about what laws he needed to obey. And unfortunately, he made some bad decisions and it cost him his life. It's a shame. He didn't need to die. But we got looking up there, and there's a fellow up there by the name of Jordan Page. Good singer. He's got some interesting videos up there. But he's got a song about LaVoy up there called A Cowboy Stand for Freedom. And even in that intro there, he says, oh, they shot LaVoy with his hands up in the air. Well, that ain't true. There's a whole bunch of misinformation there about that. People saying he was on his knees, they shot him 9 times, shot him in the face, hands up in the air. That's all a bunch of hooey. All you gotta do is go look at them videos that they got synced up there. They got the one from the helicopter from the FBI, and then that right next to that is that one from Shauna Cox from Kanab, Utah. She started filming on her phone inside the car. Even got LaVoy getting out of the car, and you can hear him say a couple of times, "You're gonna have to shoot me." Well, then he reached for a gun in his coat, and they shot him 3 times in the torso. What'd you expect to happen? My goodness. Then there's other people up there with songs calling LaVoy a hero too. So I decided I needed to add something to the mix on that. So I wrote a song. It's called "The Day LaVoy Finicum Died." He said he was a freedom-loving cowboy, but in fact he took other people's freedoms away. His guns imposed his actions on others on that peaceful Oregon day. A dedicated man, a misguided plan, I'm sure you thought you were right. But if you really love this country, try democracy, not an old cowboy gunfight. Now he said he held the Lord in his heart, and he said he believed in God. But right after worshiping the Prince of Peace at Christmas time, he packed up his guns. And then he crossed state lines to hijack lands he knew they weren't his. He made himself a criminal and took a stand he couldn't win. It wasn't a cowboy stand for freedom, it was a domestic terrorist attack. But instead of wearing headscarves, they wore really nice cowboy hats. Like Boko Haram in Africa, taking others' lands as their own, Wildlife Refuge in Oregon was the place that they'd call home. Now on the day the fleeing felon died, he did things that made no sense. He sped away from the police, and he nearly run one down. He disobeyed their orders. "You're gonna have to shoot me," he cried. Would he be more use for the movement as a spirit in the sky? Because he raised his hands and then he lowered them. It looked like he's reaching for a gun. Then he raised his hands. Then he lowered them again, and the policeman took no chance. Many black men have died for less than that, and those shootings were ruled justified. It's a damn shame LaVoy gave the cops no choice on the day LaVoy Finicum died. So I wish you peace in your travels. I wish your family love and peace. But saying you're a hero misrepresents the word, and that's not what we should teach. LaVoy Finicum, I feel for you. I felt like I've had no choice. And oddly enough, you've inspired me, and it's time to raise my voice. 'Cause our public lands are a great asset. You can't just take a chunk. Shouldn't be running cows in the desert anyway. And those fees you fight are bunk. Cows ain't a good enough reason to mar these desert lands. It's time to protect America's lands. It's time we make a stand. Well, thanks for listening. Here's to blue skies and happy trails.